Howdy doody, ladies and gentsies. It is Day 9 Daily number 422. We're learning to be a better gamer thanks to Rhett, who's awesome. As we saw in part 1, we went over, I guess what I would call some pretty fundamental stuff, some pretty big basics, but I think the biggest thing that we wanted to emphasize throughout is that this idea of looking at what we knew before in kind of a different way. I think the biggest thing to note was that whole idea of relative timing. If he starts it at 3:45, the earliest he can have an air unit coming out at us is like 7:45, and it'll probably get to us at around 8:15. And this is even assuming he perfectly lines up chrono boost and exactly builds the structures one after the other. There's always a little room of human error that'll delay that by another 5-10 seconds. So what we're actually going to be looking at right now is this fairly key moment in time where LiquidRet is not only enabling the sound, but he's getting this roach warren up right now. Obviously, spending the first 100 gas on Zergling speed can't be bad. Getting Zergling speed first is pretty typical. We also have the roach warren coming down. Now, 7:30 seems like kind of a weird time. It seems a little bit unusual. An important thing to note, the reason I turned the sound off is because I was looking back through the game, because an obvious question is, did Rhett ever see that +1 was getting started? As a matter of fact, he didn't. And that's one thing that's very easy, I think, to confuse, is to say something like, oh, well, of course Rhett got the roach warren early. He saw that there was +1 going on. No, you, the observer, saw it. Rhett didn't have a damn idea. Rhett's actually doing this blindly. And whenever you see a player doing something smart, but they're doing it totally blindly, that's almost always them relying on some kind of timing. So cool, we have Rhett building this roach warren. Let's look at all the basic reasons as to why. The earliest that this warp gate will generally be finished is around 7:45 or 8. This is for a player who's getting their gateway at a pretty good timing and 4 to 5 chrono boosts being spent here. Obviously, Rhett doesn't know the progress of it. All he sees is that there's a cybernetics core that is doing a little bit of twisting and turning. So, with this pack of Zerglings that Rhett built, and also with his overlords, he's looking, is there any pylon right here? No. His Zerglings just passed through here to see no pylons here. He has total vision. I mean, look at this overlord placement. This seems like an awfully weird spot for an overlord to end up on accident. But it's a very good spot for the overlord to be intentionally. Because what if a pylon's here, or even hiding up here? He would see all that. He actually has almost his entire main covered. He has this back spot covered. He has this stuff covered. Cool. If my opponent did go for a fast warp gate, there is no pylon nearby that he could safely defend. That means that even though his warp gate will finish at around 8 minutes, my roach warren will finish just a smidge after that at 8:30, and then I can build the roaches to defend it. Until then, these Zerglings are going to be more than enough. So now I'm going to tragically open up this production tab and end up showing you this very tragically. This is a pretty good time to move in because this is when you'll either see the Stargate done, or you'll see all the gateways finishing up for a 6-gate push, or you'll see all the... well, actually, you probably would have seen the Zealot push earlier on from this sort of Cybernetics core stuff. Even if you went for a fast robo, even though that's a little bit awkward to do nowadays, you'd still see that. So this is when Rhett does his march on forward. To note, at this point in time, Rhett has done nothing but build drones. He's just been droning. He has a single creep tumor coming out, just drones. Only 2 geysers, just drones. And notice how he's still basically just going to go drones, lots of drones. Getting 2 geysers when the layer is halfway done, another very common timing. Drones. Look at the drones. 2 evolution chamber. There's this period of rapid growth between 7 minutes and 30 seconds and 9 minutes, where LiquidRet literally didn't see anything that was coming at him. He walked in, he got to see this Twilight Council, and what Rhett knows is that he can easily get away with building pretty much nothing but drones until 9 minutes. And I think that the 9-minute mark is a pretty key moment to have sort of stored away in your brain. 7:30 and 9 minutes is where I think almost all the mistakes that make the late game feel scary happen. That's where they happen. Let's take a look and name the mistakes out loud. Let's just start naming them. First one, getting the Roach Warren too early and building any roaches. Ooh, what if he attacks? Well, LiquidRet literally has no information, and as we can see, he's totally safe. There's like literally no units. Literally no units. 42 probes, that's it. Literally not a unit. So that's another one. Another one is trying to get your layer too quickly. We see that the layer is popping down as we can afford it, but the most important thing that Ret is doing is leaving no larva behind. The no larva left behind act. Alright, cool. So let's talk about another mistake. We just saw all these warp gates finish. Right? We just saw all these finish. It's very easy to see this picture and to panic, right? It's easy to go, ooh, 5 gateways done, there's something scary happening. But if Protoss warps in right now, he can have at most like 3 sentries from his first gate, and then 5 stalkers for 1 round of warp-ins. It's not really that much. Protoss actually needs another round of warp-ins to actually begin being scary, even if there are some gateways hidden somewhere else. What's another reason Ret doesn't need to worry? Well, our good friends Zerglings and our overlords have been scouring the map for pylons. So that means if Protoss pushes, the push is going to have to begin here at the front of the base as opposed to here. Again, the 7 minutes to 30-second mark is where almost all the mistakes happen. Like right here, when this thing pops up, you're... bam! Right now, very common mistake, why a ton of mistakes happen. Players will erroneously think to themselves, oh shit, five gateways, oh my god, I better make roaches now. No, absolutely not. Ret has another 30 seconds. A warp-in round for Protoss you can think of as like 30 seconds. If you think the attack is going to happen now, add on 30 seconds, and that's probably when the attack will begin happening.
Forces are under attack.
Pretty simple. Look at that, another round of drones, another 10 freaking drones. And as a result of building these extra drones, another 2 evolution chambers go down. Very common mistake, building only roaches right here, and building no evolution chambers. Super common. And after that 1 single round of drones, now it's time to pop on out and start to begin building some roachies. Look at all that super duper crazy mega giga powering. Still gets both these upgrades. A little bit neglectful of getting this roach speed at first. We did get these other 2 extractors. I'm not too worried about that timing. I'm more worried about all this various attack timing that could have potentially happened. The one thing that I think we didn't quite end up doing in this little 7 minute and 30 to 9 minute period is that we never really asked ourselves, well, what is going to happen if we see some sort of big, scary air end up coming in? That's what this big sweep is most important for, is literally right at about now is the earliest we could actually end up seeing a Void Ray. That is about as early as it happens. So Ret, even though he's totally aware that there could be some sort of Void Ray threat, he's not going to be building his evolution chamber quite yet. He's just going to be holding it off on that. And evolution chambers are actually very fast to build. They take 30 seconds to build. And as you can see, these spore crawlers take 30 seconds to build. They're a lot shorter than spine crawlers, which actually take forever to build. So it's like a full minute between the holy shit he has stuff and oh god, I have spore crawlers up, thank goodness. So Ret can easily sort of gather these queens together and send them down there. One thing to note, what if for some reason, excuse me, what if for some reason we couldn't get in there to scout? And we couldn't really see much of anything that was going on. What would we then say to ourselves? We saw this thing pop down at 3:45, so around 8 minutes is when the real action can begin happening, when the Twilight Council's done, when the Stargate's done, and the Void Ray's out, something like that. Remember this first Roach Warren? Really simple technique to do. Exact same everything, but also build an evolution chamber. And build 1 spore crawler at the vulnerable third. The place where you don't really build spore crawlers, in the main, where you have these 2 queens here who are ready to defend. You can maybe build 1 in the main, but Literally, the biggest adjustment you're going to make is you're going to build this one evolution chamber, and then you're going to wait until around now, around 8:11, 8:15. That's when you build the next spore crawler at this base. Until then, you're actually totally fine and safe and dandy. And again, most importantly of all, LiquidRet sneaking in these geysers, sneaking in these 10 drones, and sneaking in these evolution chambers. Super duper awesome ballin' in every single way. Standard as standard can be, but there's still so many mistakes that are to be made right here. The Zerglings hanging out at the front. LiquidRet keeps a razor eye on them. And as we embark into the past the 9-minute territory, it's time that we do a little bit of broad analysis of what are all the possibilities that our Protoss player can do. So, I worked really hard today to try to create an Excel spreadsheet for all these possibilities and somehow group them into categories, but I just could not quite figure out the best way to do it. So hopefully later in the week or next week I'll be able to do that. I'm so sorry, you guys. But here's kind of the basic idea. It's very easy to think that your opponent is capable of doing everything, right? Everything. This is generally a result of when you're in a lower league. Even something like mid to high masters, these sorts of mistakes still happen. And that mistake is the following. A Protoss player doesn't really have the best macro, so he'll look at his money and go, oh, I guess I do have 2K, 1K right now. I guess I will expand, build a forge, build a Twilight Council, and get a robo facility. They get like 2 forms of tech and a base and 2 more gateways. There's not really a clean, neat, pretty progression to it. So what happens when you start getting into the higher, hell, even if you're like a platinum player and you're into diamond or masters for the first time ever, you get this feeling of when you see a Protoss player start to do this, start to move his force down to take this expansion, you get this feeling of, oh crap, he has expand and blink. I guess that means he's just playing faster, right? In general, things seem faster. When you're at Platinum, he's going Robo and Expand and Twilight all at 13 minutes. And when he's at Masters, he's going Expand and Twilight and Robo at 11 minutes. And now here we see TQ State doing it at 9 minutes and 30 seconds, getting ready to take his third. Holy crap. This is where it's important for you to throw that out and get into the idea that when you're that high up, you can really only do one thing at a time. So in this particular circumstance, TQ State has only played passively. He's actually going for a +2. He has 5 gateways up. He has Blink almost done. And he's going for a Zealot Sentry as a defensive maneuver to expand. Now, what I actually want to do right now is just look at the state of Protoss's base. That's probably the worst word possible since his name is State. We're going to look at what's going on in the Protoss base for the next 5 minutes at hyper speed. Notice how little our Protoss player can do in this period. He's making stalkers. Most of his money's being spent on stalkers and pylons. Look, he's still building probes. Just now starting a robotics facility at close to 11 minutes. Alright, cool. Has he added on any more gateways? No. He's just now taken an expansion. Sure, he's moved forward to the front, but all he's really doing is building stalkers. Just building stalkers. Oh, that's cute. He built a warp prism. Does he have a robotics facility? No. Does he have Templar archives? Does he have any more gateways? Has he even built geysers at his expansion? No, no, no. Across the board, no, he hasn't. He hasn't done anything like that. No. Let's see here. I can tell you right off the bat, it'll probably be around 15, 16, 17 minutes before Protoss is actually feeling good. Oh, look! This is the first tech that we have done since we expanded. We built 2 gateways and a robo. Whoop-de-doo. Have we gotten a robo facility? No. Have we done anything else in any regard? Oh! Hey, a second robotics facility and a robo bay! Oh, yes! Excellent! Wonderful! Fantastic! State's money has not been particularly high this entire time. He's getting a little bit high right now as he's in panic mode because this is going on. But literally for 5 full minutes, since around 9 minutes and 30 seconds, there has been almost no development in State's base. There's been almost no development. Let me just get back to 9 minutes and 30 seconds. 9 minutes 30, yeah. There's been almost no development in State's base this entire time. From around 9 minutes to 12 minutes, in that period, this is when the Protoss player needs to make some critical choices. If he's getting the expand closer to the 9-minute mark, it is physically impossible for him to do any sort of tech and stay alive. That is the most important distinction to make, because it's easy for me to say something like, well, he can't expand and build Robo at the same time. That doesn't sound like a full reason. However, if I say he's going to expand like this, and we're just going to begin attacking him a lot, it's an attack that kills any Protoss that tried to do too much. If you're a Protoss like State who smartly delays his tech, that's when he's going to be comfortable. But the idea right now is that if I'm Ret and I'm thinking that he's taking this expansion, or if I'm seeing that he's taking this expansion, I know for a fact that for the next, 2-3 minutes, maybe even up to 4 minutes, I'm not really under pressure from any big attack. I'm just not. Now, likewise, let's say the Protoss comes out with a pretty big-ass attack. Let's say he has +2 coming out at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And let's say, hell, look at this. It's a 5-stalker army, 5-stalker, 5 sentries. Let's say he has 12 to 18 stalkers at this point in time. What does that mean? At 9 minutes and 30 seconds, he physically can't possibly have expanded. He physically can't. It's actually impossible for him to have done that. And the last thing that I want to say is, let's say your Protoss buddy did something like go for some sort of 4 gateway push right at the start. One of my favorite strategies. You chrono boost the Cybernetics Core's warp gate 4 or 5 times, and you end up with 4 gateways warping in zealots at some key point by his base. You end up with that happening around 8 minutes. That happens from 8 to 9 minutes is when that huge push is happening. What if he's done that? Then it's physically impossible for him to both get a third up by 9:30 or 10. That's like physically impossible. It's impossible for him to have like a lot of blink stalkers and other things coming down the pipeline. It's just physically he can't do it. And the important thing that Ret is going to do in all these circumstances where I say he physically can't do it, it's not possible for him to do, it all rests on one big idea. That Ret is now going to start getting super aggressive. Yeah, we love this. All the conditions that we're looking at get solved quite well by Ret really starting to bring the noise. So at this point in time, as we slow down to ×2 speed, Ret is fairly unaware of what his opponent's doing. He's getting the good mix of the burrow, the other stuff. Cool. See that Ling popping in? See how he checked that? Come down and look at the clock with me. 10 minutes. Now, whether Ret is saying out loud, yeah, I want to look at 10 minutes, or whether he's saying something like, yeah, my speed just started. I've just begun building some roaches. Whatever the way you describe it may be, the important thing is that around 10 minutes, if you walk up here and you see this, it's time to lick your lips as Zerg. Protoss can't be attacking. Protoss is macroing very well. State really has not missed a probe. Hell, look at State's chrono boost. 25, 39. Very low chrono boost. Excellent, excellent, excellent play by Protoss thus far. And look how physically impossible it is for Protoss to be doing much of anything. So, what does Ret do when he walks up there and he spots this? Around the time he's starting to think, well, hey, there might be attack coming. Look at this. Sneaking in some more drones. It's not just that he hits SD and he gets 90 drones by 9 minutes and people make a meme. It's at this point in time that Ret is kind of going, now wait a minute. If he was going to be going for some sort of blink stalker push, he'd have moved up here, he'd have built a pylon in the middle. He's not. Where are those things? Bum ba dum ba dum, and spots it. Come up to production tab with me. Spots it. Drone to drone, drone, drone. Hey, pretty neat, right? Pretty neat. If you're watching this in terms of a tournament or something, it's very easy to just be like, oh wow, look at Ret making drones. Doop, 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 doop. Oh, look at the production tab. There's still drones up there. But if you actually stop and like pause and do this sort of fast forwarding or rewinding, you see, oh, he saw the expansion and then he built a whole bunch of drones. I'm going to ask a really dumb question. What if Rhett popped up here and saw no drones? Or, pretty important that I say it properly. What if he went up here and looked at this expansion and saw no Nexus? Yeah. He wouldn't be making drones, would he? Seems totally reasonable to say that. Wouldn't be making drones. He'd probably go, huh, there might be an attack coming. I guess I should pull my guys out of gas and make more units. Yeah, great. But now Rhett sees that, so easy peasy, round of dronesy cheesy. Bam! And as a result, we see a Hydra Den pop out from LiquidRet. Now, I'm going to do some Protoss logic for a moment, and then what I'm going to do is some fancy, sexy-ass reverse logic. Forward logic. If I can make the Zerg player produce a whole bunch of Hydralisks, then I can go Colossus, and he's going to be in good shape. And I'm going to be in good shape. Very common transition that a lot of Protosses used to do. There was a Bulgarian player named Zrax who would do this. I think he's still around. He would open up 2-gate Stargate, and then tech straight to Colossus. Because the Zerg player would make 12, 16 Hydralisks to deal with all the Phoenixes, and then he would walk in with a whole bunch of Colossus and clean up. Cool. So the reverse logic, if I see this and I see a whole bunch of Stalkers, it's physically impossible for him to have a ton of Colossus, even up or coming. So I'm just going to go Hydra, and they're going to be super strong.
Our forces are under attack.
Could he go for a Spire and build Corruptors? Well, it's dangerous, because if a player is taking a third this fast, it's physically impossible for him to have a robotics facility done. We're seeing Rhett sort of dip in a couple of drones here and there. These, 4 extra drones here, 4 extra drones there. Not as important as the overall seeing this thing and then backing on out. And look at Rhett. Oh, look at this. Getting an Overseer, playing it defensively. Everything that Rhett has done thus far has been largely timing-based. I see this pop out, no way Colossi can be coming, no way Huge Attack can be coming. The only thing that could be coming is maybe some DTs. So, we're starting to see Rhett getting ready to move forward and attack, and with that, I'm going to pause and go on to part number 3 of this daily. In part number 3, we're going to learn the importance of attack timing at this exact phase in a Zerg vs. Protoss. And oh yeah, we're going to look at kind of a funky, weird thing that happens at the ending, where an important lesson to learn is that there are times when Zerg will start attacking, and a lot of attacking is good, and then there are times when it's important to completely halt that and pull far back, and it all relates to the number of expansions that our opponent has. Ha! Ha! Going on to part number 3. Going on to part number